Doesn't it feel good to be here? Yeah. It's really good to be here. Really good to be here. I'm Reverend Dr. Mary Mitchell, co-senior minister here with Reverend Sue, and we are welcoming you to a place where we inspire and empower people to live spiritually fulfilling lives. We're on the cusp of a new year, and there's going to be a lot of exciting things happening, so just join in whenever you can. Right now, there are people at home that can't see us because we're not connected with Facebook. At the moment, there's a glitch there, but it's going to be recorded, and they can watch it later. So let's turn around and wave to them anyway.
Okay, hold on. Wait. Ooh.
She's talking to the camera.
Yay!
Oh, maybe that didn't work either. Okay, it's one of those anything can happen days. If you remember the Mickey Mouse Club, I always loved that day. It's an anything can happen day. I would like to thank everyone who came early to make this happen, including Lindy and Doug and Ronnie and Charlie and Sue and I. It's always nice to open up this sanctuary and just be in the presence of God. It's very special. If you have any cell phones or anything that rings, if you would shut them off. You don't have to at home, but here it would be very nice if you would do that. And we have welcome packets on the back wall. If you're a newcomer with us, just pick one up. Has a lot of really great information. And if you'd like to come in during the week and pick one up, call us, come on in. Happy to share what we do. I have a few invitations this morning. And we never did do the music. Well, Dalton is here to open us up with some music. Welcome, Dalton.
Good morning, everybody. Hi. Well, thanks very much. Sometimes when I'm feeling down and lonely, feels like love has hung me out to dry. That's when I get down on my knees and ask the good Lord, would you please explain to me, how did I get into this mess? I can't imagine, I can't guess, oh hell may see. I want to break through, I want to be free, I want to be all that I can be. I want to have faith, I want to be sure, I gotta know my love is pure. I pray to God both day and night, I pray to God with all of my might, and I'm free. Oh yes, I'm free. Oh, I believe the Lord gave me an answer. I feel a rumbling deep down in my soul. He said anybody can talk the talk, but it takes nerve to walk that walk both day and night. If you want love to fill your heart, you gotta give love, it's time to start to shine. Your life, 'cause I wanna break through, I wanna be free, I wanna be all that I can be. I wanna have faith, oh I gotta be sure, I gotta know my love is pure. I pray to God both day and night, oh I pray to God with all of my might, I'm free. Oh yes, I'm free. Well, I don't know that I like what I was hearing. It sounded like the choice was mine to make. And I guess I better get myself together, take whatever steps I have to take. Oh, 'cause I wanna break through, I wanna be free, I wanna be all that I can be. I wanna have faith, oh, I gotta be sure, I gotta know my love is for you. I pray to God both the day and night, I pray to God with all of my might, and I'm free, oh yes I'm free. Oh, I pray to God both the day and night, I pray to God with all of my might, and I'm free, oh yes I'm free. Oh, I pray to God both the day and night, I pray to God with all of my might, and I'm free, oh yes I'm free, you know I'm free, oh yes I'm free.
Oh, refreshing, isn't it? We can't sing yet, but we want to. We'll get to it some point here. So, a couple of things happening. The Tao of Watercolor, Sherry and Wyndham. Sherry, are you here? No, okay. Tomorrow she's having a watercolor class, 9:30 to noon, on basic reviews, a review of basic watercolor skills. And on Wednesday from 1 to 3:30, it will be creating original paintings from photographs. So that'll be really interesting. So if you are interested in watercolor, she is a magnificent teacher. And then on March 6th, next Saturday, is Honoring the Sacred Earth movie night, a Pioneers film by Jeremy Narby. And it's 7 to 8:30 here in the sanctuary. And he's an anthropologist who gives us insights into the brilliance of nature. So that should be really good. And then on Sunday, March 14th, we are having our congregational meeting right after the 10 o'clock service. Well, it'll be 11:30. Give people a chance to come if they want to come. And it will be a review of what happened in 2020 and also a view of 2021 and also voting for 2 new board members. Linda Mitchell is one of them, and where are you? There you are. Christy Carr. You want to stand up, Christy? Is Linda here as well? Oh, great. So there are candidates for the board, and you'll get to see that in the program. They've really got great backgrounds and are extremely enthusiastic, so we're really happy about that. One other thing that's happening, Sue and I have been meeting with the Unity ministers once a month for, probably a year now, and we decided let's kick off something new in the new year by doing a book study together. And it looks like now, if Shasta County can be staying in the red, we can do it at Unity's place on Churn Creek, but we're going to max it out at 10 students because there's 4 ministers, and they've already got 5 people signed up. So it's called, the book is My Grandmother's Hands. How many have heard about that book? 2, 3, not many. This is written by Resma Menachem, and an African-American gentleman, and he remembered his grandmother worked the cotton fields in the 1800s, and he always used to look at her hands, calloused hands, and ask her stories about that. Well, he's also a therapist, and he put this book together in 3 sections, and I love this. It's recognizing decades and centuries of trauma that have impacted white bodies, black bodies, and blue bodies, our law enforcement. So it covers each area distinctively, and I just found it incredibly interesting, educational, and worthy of great discussion. So if you would like to be one of the 5 from our center that goes over to Unity, starting Well, it's 8 Wednesdays, March 17th to May 8th, from 1 to 3 p.m. on Wednesday. I have a sign-up sheet at the board desk, although we don't have a board member today, but if you want to sign up, that would be good. Okay. So right now, I did the invitations. I'm going to do the reading, and then I'm going to ring the bell, and Charlie's going to come up here and do a treatment. So we're just kind of playing with it a little bit new today. So the reading is from Peter Santos, and he wrote a book, Everything I Wanted to Know About Spirituality, but Didn't Know How to Ask, a Spiritual Seeker's Guidebook. The spiritual freedom we seek cannot be found by grasping at, retreating to, or protecting our perceived safe spaces. Our freedom lies in remaining open continuously, not only to life's changes, but also to the divine light within us and others. This is our choice. Although often perceived as a weakness, being open and surrendering to the experience of the present moment is our greatest strength. By authentically living life in the now, we submit to the divine guidance where we find the freedom to see everything equally and sacred in truth.
Please join with me in knowing that in the presence of the one love, Spirit, God, residing here in this room and everywhere. And I know for each and every one of us that this God presence flows through each and every one of us at the deepest level, at the core of our being, and it's who we are. And so as I claim this knowing that I am at the very core, the God presence, I relax and I know that I truly do have freedom. I have the freedom to love, to care, to be in community, to know my true spiritual self. And so I know for today, as I listen to the words of Reverend Sue as she shares her heart and her message on spiritual freedom, I know and I claim an openness to what I hear and what I take in and what I resolve to do in my life to claim my own freedom. So I know today I give great thanks for the service, for this community, a wonderful community of spiritual warriors who have incredible freedom to express themselves. So giving great thanks for today and the music and the support of everyone in this community, I release and let go these words and this prayer. Together we say, and so it is.
Clunk. Good morning. So I'm going to show up front if Charlie wants to get ready down there. And at the seat here, I'm going to show you something that I came across that the organization had for this month in celebrating Black History Month. And these small little video clips honor that. And these are snippets of wisdom from Ernest Holmes. And what I really value about what we're about to see is so often you can follow a spiritual teacher or a movement, and then you find all of a sudden there's a dirty scandal in the middle of it all. And you kind of go, say, well, I really was into this. But there's been a few paths that I've followed that have been very, very pure in the leadership of it, and so I really value that. And Ernest Holmes definitely is a really high-principled man that really walked his talk. So think about his time period and look at the sweet message that he has to share. Charlie, you want to just go ahead and we'll show these. There's three. They're short. They're from CSL Dallas, and I hope you enjoy as much as I did.
Here's a little-known Black history science of mind fact. Jamaican-born Marcus Mosiah Garvey Jr. is well known as a businessman, journalist, Pan-Africanist, and powerful orator of the early 1900s. As such, he attracted thousands of followers to his Black nationalist movement that became known as Garveyism. As founder of the Universal Negro Improvement Association, Garvey encouraged African Americans to be proud of their race and promoted cultural identity through his Back to Africa campaign. But did you know that Garvey was also a follower of the New Thought movement, as well as a student of the ideas and philosophies of religious science? In fact, Garvey studied the same New Thought philosophers as religious science founder Ernest Holmes and his brother Fenwick, and often quoted their teachings. He also was inspired by divine science co-founder Nona Brooks. Even the philosophy of transcendentalism, led by writer Ralph Waldo Emerson, resonated with Garvey. He excelled at merging racial philosophical concepts and science of mind principles while addressing the Black condition in America. The strong philosophical beliefs in self-mastery, determination, and willpower that Garvey preached to Black people aligned perfectly with the newly emerging teachings of science of mind. In many of Garvey's speeches and writings, he often urged his followers to get a scientific knowledge of religion. His message was clear: liberate the minds of men, and ultimately, you will liberate the bodies of men. Another instrumental Jamaican in science of mind is Dr. Elma Lumsden, who founded the Temple of Light Church of Religious Science in Kingston, Jamaica in 1981. An engaging speaker and master teacher, Dr. Elma is also known for her simple yet dynamic words of wisdom, such as, "Until you can walk on water, take a boat," and "Life is a school, and we're not on holiday." Due to her leadership and diligence, Lumsden helped the religious science become recognized as one of 12 key religions in Jamaica. Dr. Elma Lumsden and Marcus Garvey, Black evolutionaries in science of mind.
Here's a little-known Black history science of mind fact. Meet Sarah Flowers, a prolific African-American writer of science of mind books in the 1940s. Flowers was a writer, publisher, metaphysician, frequent speaker, and teacher of the science of mind. She took the major course at the Institute of Religious Science in Los Angeles in 1937 and wrote her first book, Common Sense and Its Application in Everyday Life, in 1941. Other books followed, including The Metaphysical Thesaurus and Metaphysical Dictionary, Should I Pay for Metaphysical Treatment, and Atomic Metaphysics, The Electrical Principle of Man. In Atomic Metaphysics, she writes, "In metaphysics, we must then recognize that there is a power that revolves in and around, out and beyond us, at a rate equal to the atomic energy in our material beings. But it's important to note what Sarah Flowers considered her most important work: teaching practitioners metaphysical treatment for all of the problems that confront us today. You might think Science of Mind's inclusive teachings of oneness would be immune to America's history of racial segregation, but that was not the case. Dr. J. Arthur Twine founded Eastside Church of Religious Science in his home in 1932. The congregation quickly grew and became the third church to be ordained and chartered by Ernest Holmes, the founder of religious science. It was a thriving multiracial church, but in 1945, Third Church of Religious Science, as it was now called, was moved to the bottom of the church listings in Science of Mind magazine and noted as a colored church. Ernest Holmes found this unacceptable and went to speak to church members. He said, "I have been told that too many non-Caucasians attend these lectures. True, there are Caucasians and non-Caucasians in this congregation, but this we must affirm: we are all children of one living God, one God that permeates all without exception, one intelligence that governs all, and most important, every man and woman who abides in the universe is a significant entity in the one universal consciousness. Our doors will forever be open to all. Whoever you are, be proud. You are a divine idea in the mind of God." The magazine staff immediately corrected this error and returned to listing churches alphabetically. The following year, Dr. Twine made his transition, but the church remains strong today as Third Church Center for Spiritual Living. A number of Dr. Twine's descendants became practitioners, lay leaders, and ministers, including his great-granddaughter, Reverend Stacy Hilton, who currently serves as co-spiritual director of the Las Vegas Center for Spiritual Living. Dr. J. Arthur Twine and Sarah Flowers, Black evolutionaries in Science of Mind.
Here's a little known Black history science of mind fact. Pearl C. Wood was born in a small Arkansas town in 1892. A teacher, she became a seeker of spiritual truth. She relocated to Kansas City, where she became active in church and civic work. In 1930, she went to California. There she visited various churches but could not find the spiritual uplift she desired until one day, a voice inside her said, "The thing you're looking for is within you." She returned to Kansas City and became an ordained minister in the Metropolitan Spiritual Church of Christ. A short time later, she permanently moved to LA and founded Triangular Church of Truth in her living room in 1932. She became affectionately known as Mother Wood. The church grew, and 24 years later, in 1956, she affiliated with Religious Science. Ernest Holmes loved Mother Wood's ministry, and at one event stunned the crowd announcing, "If she's your mother, then I'm your father." When Mother Wood retired in 1972, her son-in-law, Dr. Philip Pitts, became senior minister at Triangular Center for Spiritual Living. And when he retired, her grandson, Reverend Greg Pitts, stepped into leadership. Mother, son-in-law, and grandson, 3 generations of strong spiritual leadership. Dr. Pearl C. Wood, a Black evolutionary in Science of Mind.
Thank you for watching those. Thank you. Yeah. I just celebrate the fact, the inclusion and the oneness that was proclaimed in that time period is very important for us to witness and to remember and not take it for granted. There is the invitation from the organization is to remind us to use our spiritual practices of visioning a world that truly does work for all. and to recognize that we really are all one, and our choices include doing only what we would want done to us. It's such a basic principle that has met its way through time, and it continues to lead us to the most kindest acts of our well-being. And so this spiritual journey is continuing to call us to look at our roots and to encourage us to move with the thinking that whatever it is, there is a divine feeling within it, a divine presence, a divine knowing that is longing to be expressed. And by the way of mystical experiences, this idea can transcend all the different paths, because this year we're looking at how this is such an evolutionary teaching, and we want to recognize there are so many journeys, so many paths towards the one, and this influences that as we share a few things today. And another central topic here is complete emancipation from every discord of every nature is experienced more readily when emancipation is the consciousness we live from as a result of embodying spirit. So this book that we'll be studying is another avenue to expand your thinking. There's so many things that we think we know because we're familiar with our feelings and we've been holding ourselves in that. But there's so much more to discover and so much more love to allow your hearts to flow with. So the evolutionary statement here from the CSL Global Vision that relates today, we envision a world in which we live and grow as one global family that respects and honors the interconnectedness of all life, a world where this kinship with all life prospers and connects through the guidance of spiritual wisdom. But here's the important word, and experience. Okay, we have to feel it, act it, do it, be immersed in it. So Ernest Holm reminds us that the inherent nature of man, or people, is forever seeking to express itself in terms of freedom. And that brings us back to the topic today, journey to freedom. And we call this our spiritual home. Maya Angelou says, the ache for home is in all of us, that safe place where we can go as we are and not be questioned. Take that in, that wisdom, that simple statement. The ache is in all of us to find that place of refuge where we can go and be together in such a way that we can be our truest self. We can strip away the veils and the different ways that block us from our true nature. Now, yesterday I just finished the Pilgrimage of Light with Reverend Dr. Andrea and her Bellingham center of people, and so there was a group of 50 on Zoom. And that in itself was like, because everybody, first it starts off, you got these blocks of faces that, oh, hi, and then they shrink, and you're going, are you still there? Where? I hear you speaking, where are you? And you're looking through all these faces trying to find where they are. The most challenging moment was she made me co-host, and then all of a sudden, they were on a break, but she said they were in their rooms. They were all in their breakout rooms. She said, oh my God, my computer is, oh my God, it made a loud noise, it's shutting down. And then she froze, and I went. And so she calls me on the phone, and she said, get him back. And I said, how? And so there was this sci-fi idea inside my head. They're all out there in a Zoom break room. I'll never get them back. They're going to talk forever. And it was just this panic. And she and I just had these big eyes, never had that Zoom experience before. I thought I met a lot of them in 2020, but that was the ulcer-making one of this day. And suddenly, little by little, things started to come back, and her computer came back, and people started saying, where are we? What are we doing all these days? Of people all of a sudden being plucked out of the universe and putting back on a screen. It's, oh yeah, that was fun. That was a lot of fun. But the day went on, and the insights and the love and the willingness to be on a pilgrimage, and that's what a journey is, a pilgrimage. Now, one of the resources we had was The Art of Pilgrimage by Phil Cousino. It's a fabulous book, wonderful if you are a traveler. It's a wonderful little book to have and just to enjoy reading at your bedside, little passages of people doing pilgrimage to their own family's ancestry and trying to find the roots of different places and experiencing the wealth of spiritual awakening that happens with that. And so I'm going to share a little bit of a story from that in just a moment. But anytime we go on a pilgrimage of any sort, the trip always begins by examining your purpose and what are you prepared to take on your journey, right? What are you going to, I remember when Charlie and I went to India, oh my gosh, we took way too much stuff, big things of luggage, and then you watch these poor people have to try to lift these things onto the buses. And you really only need 2 outfits or something just to have the spiritual attire to look right in the temples. But so way overpacked there, not knowing what the experience would be. But truly, how you pack your bags for anything, how you pack your consciousness will define your journey. And so one of the stories that we shared yesterday, it's called The Russian Story. They say they use this principle to pause in their journey long enough to sit on our luggage for 30 minutes before they start to travel to the airport. So they sit there so they know they haven't forgotten anything. Because what good does it do halfway to the airport to remember or on the plane to remember? You just cause anxiety. So that idea is the Russian way, they say, to prepare for a journey. And the other problem is the weight is the biggest burden to any pilgrim. And I was fascinated in reading The Art of Pilgrimage about the Peace Pilgrim. Some of you might remember who that woman who chose to give up everything for the purpose of honoring peace. And one of the favorite things she said, so her journey was just simply, she's walked back and forth across the United States 7 times and only had a few belongings like a toothbrush, a journal, her peace pamphlets, and a change of clothes. And that was all she would take with her. And she said, think of how free I am. If I want to travel, I just stand up and walk away. And I thought, that is so beautiful. That is right up the alley for all the minimalists and for all those that want that Zen-like simple life. You know, how I realize how much weight we carry on these journeys when we start. We try to bring everything that we love with us. But this was just, she had honed her consciousness in such a way. She said at first she would try to find examples of prayers, but then she didn't need that anymore. She said her whole time walking was a prayer in itself, a prayer for peace. And that's what she demonstrated in her experience. There was a Zen teacher, Charlotte Beck, and she said, there is one thing that you can always rely on, that in life being as it is. Life is just as it is. And so often we try to make everything right, make other people wrong, make other people try to believe the way we do so we're a little more comfortable in their presence. All of that has to be put down. That's one of the boulders that you might be putting in your backpack that makes it just too heavy to get along in this world. So think about those things. Think about the idea of just letting go, letting loose. And the other Zen principle here, the great way is not difficult for those who have no preferences. That washes my 2020 clean. That washes my heart clean. Because I realize when I walk that truth, when I embody that principle, and have no preferences. It doesn't mean I have to give away my beliefs and what I believe I stand for, but to have no preferences, to love everyone just as it is a truly gift of the teaching of 2020. So there was a story that I'm just going to briefly scan into, because I've used up a lot of our time with the little films. But this idea comes from the Wayfarer. A lot of people have taken that journey that takes them on the El Camino. I don't know if anybody here has actually walked the El Camino Trail, but it's a very spiritual practice. And there's a movie out called The Way. And it's a story of a man who was still dealing with his grief, lost his wife. He was estranged from his son and couldn't quite bridge that back, and just really felt his whole life was just being an ophthalmologist, and he felt like the eyeball was the most important thing in the world. And he kind of framed his experience that way. So he's taking his son to the airport, and he's not figuring out why his son, at 40 years old, is going to go on this El Camino. And so the two men, they argued about it quite a bit, and they finally, just in silence, he drops his son off to the airport. And I want to share this line. He said, the son leaves his father, and he says, the last words were, "You don't choose a life, Dad, you live one." So there's the freedom there. You don't choose it, you live it. You live it all along the way, no matter what comes your way in that journey. Well, as it was, his son died on that trip, right when one of the first few days on the journey, on the pilgrimage, something happened, an accident, and it took his life. So his father was ripped out of what he was doing in his ordinary world, his safe world, and sent there to pick up his ashes and bring him back. But when he got there, he couldn't stop thinking about why his son was on this journey in the first place. So the story goes on where he finds other travelers, fellow travelers, and he starts to piece together an awakening and an understanding of his son. So as the story goes, I advise that we all look at the movie, to look at all the stories of the character, because every character has a message for us. But it goes towards the end. Tom then continues on his way after this journey, after taking the trek, a transformed person, gradually turning homeward. Over time, he began to see the world through his son's eyes. He started appreciating Daniel's spiritual vision in a deeper way than he ever had done during his son's lifetime. Tom's return home reconnects him with family and to a wider human community, to the world, ultimately to his own heart and spirit. He arrives back home with a sense of optimism and need to live out what he has learned along the way from others, from the blessings of St. James. In this respect, as many pilgrims find as they begin to return home, that the sacred journey is still going on. It still continues. If the journey meant anything, it meant that the last steps into Santiago were the first steps of another journey. That's the journey to freedom. To know there will never be an end. There will never be something that says, okay, I'm complete now, and I can just zone out on TV or whatever you want to do. There's a soul force in each one of us that is longing to be expressed in this way, this journey, this walk in life. And I wanted to close here with a particular passage as well. The idea that we're looking at in this experience today, thinking about the journey to freedom, is that you want to imagine that behind all that we do is a presence in a force in life that is calling us, beckoning us to a greater idea of who we are. And often when we go to these wisdom sites on a pilgrimage or on a journey, whatever you want to imagine that state or that idea of your pilgrimage is, feel and imagine that presence calling you home. The call that brought you there was a call to pay closer attention to a sacred source of life, After all your preparations, all your arduous journeying, this force has called you and asking you something vital, what you can give, what you can take back from the journey, and to be amazed, to continually to be amazed. Smile upon that idea of remembering the last time you were amazed. It's so important. It wakes us up to life, to just be amazed at a sunset, at a sunrise, at a duck in the water, whatever it is. Be amazed, because that means you're awake and that you're continuing to be on this pilgrimage of freedom. And at the same time, remain very humble in that experience as you travel and do the walk in life. The last little story I'm going to share, and then I'll have Judy play for our consciousness for a treatment of supporting your journey of freedom. And this is just a brief one, but it has to do with the labyrinth. We have a labyrinth. Are you amazed? Have you walked it in a while? You walked it once, it's still there. You can walk it again and again and again and continue to be amazed at what you discover on the walk. But this is from a gentleman on that journey. That was his pilgrimage. It was in the summer of 1986. He was at the cathedral with the massive medieval doors, and he walked across, and his only companions were those silent stones. And then the storms of sunlight were streaming through the stained glass windows. The sound of his heart surged as he stood in the center of the ancient labyrinth. Slowly, he followed the winding way back over the black and white flagstones, a path worn smooth over 800 years of pilgrimage there, 34 turns on the meandering path. He recrossed and recrossed the threshold, buffeting a very strange, powerful wind. But here's the sweet part. Because what do you find on your journey? Pay attention. Be amazed at what shows up on your journey, because it's important. An old Frenchman in a black felt beret was waiting for me. Uncannily, he reminded me of my great-grandfather. He tapped me on the arm with the crook of his oak walking cane. His eyes were like a court jester's, but bore the weariness of the wayward pilgrim. In a deep, accented English, he asked me with the riddling power of a traveling bard, "Do you know?" I should have you read this line here, Dalton, because you could do it. "You know where I can find God." I felt a cold shiver crawl down my spine, a peculiar prickling at the back of my neck. His eyebrows arched expectantly. I was completely bewildered. Was he mad? A sardonic existentialist? Could he be testing my knowledge of arcane architecture or medieval philosophy? He squinted and waited impatiently for his answer, as if it were the words were lurking in me that might surprise us both. Suddenly, rays of blue light slanted in from the brilliantly bright rose window above the choir loft, landing warmly on my face. Only then did I realize that I'd been waiting for this question all my life. Casually, I pointed with my right thumb over my shoulder and down to the whirling pattern of the stone floor. The old man touched the edge of his beret, bowed elegantly, nodding with great relief. And a sigh he escaped out of the corner, that little smile that escaped out of the corner of his crinkled mouth. He stepped across the threshold and disappeared inside that ancient question. He kept keeping the time beyond time. So I asked you, on your pilgrimage to freedom, where are you going to find God? So as Judy plays, ponder that question. Let it sink deep into your heart, and let the heart be which speaks back to you. As we take a pause, reflecting back in time, the importance of the history, the Black history that has impressed itself upon our philosophy, our wonderful Ernest Holmes and his gentle, powerful way to continue to stay steady on his path of knowing love prevails. And we recognize we too are on that journey, on that pilgrimage, looking for that freedom, longing for that answer of where are we going to discover that oneness. And then we sit inside our heart and we feel. We soften. There's a quickening. There's a moment. Intuitively, we get that flash of grace. And our heart stirs. And we remember who we are. And we remember who we are in the next moment. And we celebrate a deep love, a passion for life, a passion for humanity, a dedication to healing all discord, and to recognize it is within each and every one of us, this pilgrimage to freedom, the gateway and the threshold that we cross is at the altar of our own heart. And there we find our power and our truth. I give thanks for the wisdom of the journeys that we get to discover as others find their way. And I celebrate this community as we open our doors again and we each find our way coming home. This is our spiritual home. I give thanks for all that continues to sustain this center through time. I release this word knowing that we are all on the journey together and we elbow bump each other along the way with love. For that I give thanks and I smile. It's a wonderful life, and so it is. Thank you. Thank you, Judy.
What a rich morning, huh? Amazingly rich. All right. Huh? I didn't pick up. No, I was just shuffling them. We haven't had this much audience for a while. All right. It's time for the offertory. And you know, when you came in this door and the other door, that there are offering envelopes out there. We greatly appreciate all your donations. We've had a magnificent year for 2020, and you'll hear that at the congregational meeting. We exceeded revenue expectations, and that's because of the dedication and the love so many people have for this center and what it offers for everyone's spiritual journey. And so right now, if when you leave an offering, that would be great. If you mail it, that would be great. If you knock on the door during the week and slip it to one of us, we have many people do that. I think it's so cute. They just, here's a check, and go away. And credit cards are also appreciated. And for those of you at home, we get mail every day from those who don't physically come here, and it's so greatly appreciated. It's wonderful to know that the center has this much support. So there's an affirmation that I would like to invite you to share. And it's gratefully I give with an attitude of abundance. For I know as I give, I do receive. Yes. And then we like to end the service with another call and response, and then we'll have some more music by Dalton. Thank you, Dalton. There is only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. And that life is my life now. And now we'll amp it up a little bit. There is only one life. That life is God's life. That life is absolutely perfect. And that life is my life and your life now. Beautiful. Thank you for coming. Dalton, if you would just close us out here this morning. Thank you for being here.
am free, I am unlimited. There are no chains that bind me. I am free, I am unlimited. Right now, right now, I am free, I am unlimited. There are no chains that bind me. I am free, I am unlimited right now. I am free, I am unlimited. There are no chains that bind me. I am free, I am unlimited right now, right now. I am free, I am unlimited. There are no chains that bind me. I am free, I am unlimited right now. You are free, you are unlimited. There are no chains that bind you. You are free, you are unlimited right now, right now. You are free, you are unlimited. There are no chains that bind you. You are free, you are unlimited right now. That's why we are free, we are unlimited. There are no chains that bind us. We are free, we are unlimited right now, right now. Oh, we are free, we are unlimited. There are no chains that bind us. We are free, we are unlimited right now. We are free, we are unlimited right now.
Thank you, Dalton. That reminded me, I wanted to raise and praise the Hartsonger Choir, Dalton and Judy, for Linda Aldrich's celebration. We could not sing, but they had the choir here and they hummed. It was so incredible. They chose some of Linda's most beautiful favorite songs, and you could hear the hum. And I just really was so deeply touched by that, the power of the hum. And so and then I was thinking how funny it is to listen, Mary, to the affirmations, because I don't think Ernest Holmes ever imagined us trying to do those with a mask on. It sounds so funny listening to it and the muffled way the mask does, but we can feel it, the vibration in our hearts. So have a happy day. And again, Dalton and Judy, thank you for what you bring here, for sure. Thank you, everyone.